I was in a race this Saturday on Lake Erie on a CNC 36, a fast boat. While we were motoring out the channel before sticking it into the wind to hoist the main, the owner and captain asked me what I thought of the sound of the engine. He respects my opinion, and in asking, I got the feeling that something might be wrong. As boat owners, we often know every creak and groan of our boats, and when something is amiss, a finely tuned ear picks it up right away. The CNC 36 has a big Yanmar 3QM, which compared to my boat's Volvo sounds entirely different. So I gave a good listen. It was sort of rough with more vibration than I've come to expect from my Volvo, but it's a bigger engine. The first and safest thing I suggested was engine mounts. Check them. They do wear out over time and the rubber loosens up and becomes softer. Which brings me to changing them. Our friend Marc just did this on his boat and he wrote up a nice article on how to do it. I'll leave a link below to the full article on our website so that you can read it. In it, Marc says, do you feel an abnormal engine vibration? Is there rubber dust around the engine mounts? Those are both telltale signs of possible engine mount wear or even imminent failure. If you have a few basic tools and a DIY skill set, then you can learn to safely replace the engine mounts yourself as long as you're able to access your engine without being a contortionist. It is always discomforting when you know and actually feel that something's not quite right on your boat. For a little while now, while navigating under power, I felt some new vibrations that simply did not feel right. Putting the boat safely on autopilot, I went down into the cabin and opened up the rear engine cowl and realized it was the propeller shaft that seemed to be the origin of the vibration. It was either caused by poor shaft alignment, which turned out not to be the case, or something else was causing the issue. While inspecting the engine mounts, the most likely culprits, I noticed the rear port side engine mount was leaving a lot of rubber dust and residue around itself. With the engine stopped, I was able to actually move or twist the mount by hand. These are telltale signs of engine mount wear, and in the case of that particular mount, a possible and imminent mount failure, which is the last thing any of us would want. Excess vibration through the transmission, the prop shaft, and the prop tunnel can cause structural damage, including possible water infiltration. Also, if a mount were to actually break, all of the above plus engine damage can be the result of badly worn engine mounts. With the engine mount so worn out, in addition to its close proximity to the transmission and prop shaft link, cause the excess vibration while under load, both in forward and reverse. Plus, it means the starboard rear mount has been compensating by taking on the extra stress, therefore was also getting more wear and tear than it should. As the engine mounts on my boat are all original and 27 years old, it would make no sense to change just one mount. Is it more work to do all of them? Of course, but one is about to fail, the chances are the others aren't far behind. So, using my philosophy that maintenance costs much less than repairs, I ordered 4 new engine mounts. In my case, the engine is a Perkins M20 diesel, so I ordered these from Parts for Engines in the UK. I also ordered the matching hardware. If you're going to change things like engine mounts, you might as well change the nuts and bolts too. In most cases, the tools needed are basic, proper size wrenches, a ratchet, sockets and extensions, and a spark plug feeler gauge set. I also used the Space Saver scissor action jack from my car to hold the engine in place as a backup safety while I removed and replaced each mount one at a time. Once you've removed everything and opened up all the access to the engine and prop shaft, use wood blocks under the engine to hold it in place. I used the scissor action jack from my car. You're not looking to use that to raise the engine. You just want to apply enough pressure to hold the engine in place should something go wrong. But since I replaced one mount at a time, the jack was used simply out of an abundance of caution. Now you need to remove the nuts and bolts holding the transmission output flange to the propeller shaft flange. As best you can, measure and note the current distance between the mounting base and the top or bottom of the mounting plate on the engine. In this example pictured, the starboard rear mount is 2.75 inches from the support base to the top of the mounting plate. Do this for each individual mount, as they may seem the same at first glance, but many times they're not, as I learned on my engine, where the front port side mounting flange was larger and higher, as it also holds the alternator. These measurements will only serve as a benchmark or starting setting, as over the years, chances are good that the original rubber mount inserts have compressed compared to the brand new ones you're putting in. This is why the last steps will involve aligning the engine to the propeller shaft. Engine mount rubber compression is also the reason why checking the alignment with a feeler gauge is recommended as a regular maintenance check based on your engine hours. I check mine every 3 years or so. With the new ones, I'll check again in the spring. Now, one by one, remove and replace each engine mount. Using the measurements you took, set the height of each engine mounting plate at the base of the engine mount. Once each one has been replaced, it's now time to align the engine to the prop shaft. To do so, use a spark plug feeler gauge to check the fit and feel on the top, sides, and bottom between the transmission output flange and the prop shaft flange. If, for example, it's more open on the bottom, then the front of the engine needs to come down. Now rotate the prop shaft and check again. Do this a few times and it'll confirm that the shaft is sitting properly centered in the prop shaft tunnel. If any adjustments are needed, do these slowly in about quarter or half turn increments at the time. Recheck the alignment with the feeler gauge and repeat the alignment until it is perfect. Remember to lower or raise the engine equally on each side, port and starboard, for each adjustment. Once you're satisfied with it, properly tighten each engine mount and reattach the transmission and prop shaft together. Double check everything has been properly tightened. Now start the engine. From the engine compartment, keep the RPMs idle to see how the engine's responding. Increase and decrease the RPMs. Switch it into forward gear and see how the shaft and engine are running. Is the shaft rotating and the engine running smoothly with no vibration? If not, stop and do the alignment step again. Increase the RPM and observe the same. Now go into reverse gear, idle and at higher RPMs, and observe the engine mounts too. If you're a hands-on do-it-yourselfer with basic tools on hand, you can do this job. But some boats require acrobatic skills, such as an engine deep in the bottom of the boat. These are more difficult installations and may require hiring a pro. However, you can still carry out the diagnostics by looking and feeling for the telltale signs and get them replaced before one gives way. I don't know about you guys, but this sailor is going to take a very close look at his engine mounts today, looking for those telltale black rubber dust signs a failing engine mount may start to give off. I also look for that black dust around the accessory belts on the front of the engine. A belt will pile up that black dust as it wears out. What other cool telltales do you know about to watch for on your sailboat? Share it in the comments. We should talk about this stuff to make sailing safer for everybody. I can't wait to read your tips and tricks in the comments, and please go check out Marc's full article and his full write-up at practical-sailor.com. I'll leave a link below.